Well, let's put all this into perspective. I'm being joined on the news at 10 by Channels Television's data analyst, Mr. Babajide Ogunsanwo. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10.
The pleasure is always mine.
I know. What a day for somebody who's a figures person like you. I mean, looking at TI in the last 5 years, just take us through what it has been and what our rankings have looked like.
You know, before we go there, today is really a very special day. More than 4 centuries ago, exactly on this day, in the year 1556, the world witnessed the worst earthquake of mankind, Shangxin earthquake. Killed over 800,000 people on this same day in 1556. Today, there's another earthquake Africa faces, earthquake corruption. Now, let's take a look at the summary of the report from Transparency International and what does this all really mean. So Transparency International has provided us a ladder.
I say you have a ladder there.
Oh, yes. Okay. And if you can look at the top of the ladder, that is really where Nigeria belongs, currently occupied by Denmark, New Zealand, and Finland. Those are the top 3 countries that have the best rating up there where Nigeria should be, according to Transparency International. In that report, they say we're currently here. We rank 146 out of 180 countries. Last year, it was a bit better. We're 144 out of 180. Oh, yes, there are some countries we've done better than. The worst country, Somalia. But that is not where we should be benchmarking ourselves with. Ghana, South Africa are performing better than Nigeria, and really that's where we should be. But let's look at the summary of that report. Within that report, if we take a look at it, it shows out of the 180 countries, 50 countries have the same results, or 52 countries have the same result as last year. That's the first thing. The second is 60 countries improved. And the third is 68 countries performed worse than they did last year. And if we take a look at that, the summary means that only 33 countries, or 33% of countries have seen an improved performance. The second thing we should look at is what are the limitations of Transparency International's report. And the first limitation is that report only talks about corruption in the public sector. The report doesn't talk about anything about corruption in the private sector. Neither does it talk about money laundering activities or activities of those that enable corruption, like the financial advisors, the accountants. Neither does that report as well talk about the perception of citizens. It really focuses about the perception based on what business professionals and country experts have talked about.
But in terms of us trying to compare, were those not the measures and parameters that have been used in the last 5 years? Has it changed? I mean, looking at what it was last year, the issue we're trying to bring out is that we seem to have moved down. And from a data perspective, why?
From the data perspective, let's look at our performance within the last 5 years. Let's start from that, and then we'll talk about the reasons why corruption has reduced, or we've done worse based on Transparency International's report. And if we focus on that report, what we'll see is that in 2015, Transparency International, using the same measures they've used in the last 5 years, scored us 26 out of 100 in 2015. In 2016, which was 1 year into the government, the report was better. So we moved from 26 over 100 in 2015 to 28 over 100 the following year. In 2017, corruption became worse. In 2018, we scored the same thing as we did in 2017, 27 over 100 in 2017, and again 27 over 100 in 2018.
So just from a graphical perspective, looking at it on the screen there, what does that say? Is this good or bad?
This is bad. This shows that corruption is back to its level, corruption is back to the level it was in 2015, the year the government came in. Yes, a year after, based on Transparency International's report, we've seen an improvement. But here's what Nigerians are concerned about. In a recent survey by Transparency International and Afrobarometer, they asked Nigerians what are they really bothered about in corruption. And 69% of Nigerians say the police is a major place where they feel corruption. Another 60% say members of parliament. Local government councils, over 55% of those surveyed say they have a problem with corruption in those areas. So if we want to fight corruption, if we look at the screen, those are the areas where Nigerians are really bothered about. Government officials, even the judiciary. Nigerians point to the judiciary and magistrates as areas where they see there's a lot of corruption. But let's take a look at the top 7 reasons why our results look worse than it was last year. And if we focus on those top 7 reasons, Ijoma, bribery, diversion of funds, corruption, Transparency International talks about we need to have a merit-based system in appointing civil service jobs. But let's wrap this all up quickly. What does all of this mean? What does this report today mean? And here are the top 3 things it means. The first is it might become a bit more expensive for businesses to access international loans because it attracts a higher risk. And finally, it puts a negative identity for positive Nigerians.
Right,
and let's remember, Ijoma, the worst disease in the world is corruption, but there's a cure. Transparency. All
right, our data analyst there, Babajide Ogunsonwe, thanks a lot for sharing that and crunching those numbers, even with the ladder that you brought in. Thanks
yes, we need to improve where
That's
we're...
Right.